Music Talk heads to New Jersey to talk to Bob Berger about his new solo album, The Domino Effect. Bob is also a member of power pop band The Weeklings, but here he is on his own to explain the concept behind The Domino Effect.
It's okay, it's alright. I gotta make it to the show tonight.
The domino effect is it's loosely a conceptual, not really, but loosely, about how when something happens in your life, it affects you, and it affects how you look at the next thing in your life, and that will in turn change the next thing after that, and so it's like events are like a series of dominoes, and the way they fall depends on the previous one. So.
And was there something that happened in your life that made you realize this?
Now, look, well, I had some health problems earlier last year. I had a heart attack in June of last year.
Yeah,
That was a big
that's a
deal.
health
And
problem.
so maybe it might have got me thinking,
Right.
Yeah, I had the heart attack while I was on stage.
Oh, jeez.
It was crazy. Yeah. And then they rushed me to the hospital and emergency surgery, and here I am. So,
Man, well, I'm glad you're all right. Jeez.
yeah, I'm okay. Yeah, I'm good.
So so tell me how the record got started as far as recording and writing and all that. And how long you've been working on it?
Mm. Well, as you know, I'm in a band called the Weeklings.
Yes.
And I actually started working on this record before the Weeklings existed, and I put it off. I put it aside to work on the Weeklings stuff, and then
Right.
when the pandemic hit, I had some extra time in my hands, and I said, okay, I'm going to finish what I started. So that's really how it came about.
Uh-huh. And so you start out with a tune called "The Suicide King," which is kind of
Yes.
like a jangly waltz thing, which is kind of not really fitting in with the suicide thing. What's going on there?
What did you do with that pretty young thing? I do what I want, I'm the suicide king. What did you play on your black diamond string? I play what I want, I'm the suicide king.
Well, the Jangly Waltz was like, well, that's an odd way to start a record. So I with a 12/8 time meter, but it's about it's not about suicide. It's about
Right.
well, the Suicide King, I don't know if you know, is the King of Hearts. That's a nickname for the playing card, the King of Hearts, and the companion song at the end of the record is the One Eyed Jack, which is the
Yes.
Jack of Spades. So, but the Suicide King is about somebody who's doing what he knows may not be right, and is doing it anyway, and doesn't care about the consequences. So,
Are you a big card fan? Do you play cards?
I used to play cards a lot when I was a kid.
What was your game?
Oh, we used to play poker a lot.
Poker. Yeah.
Different kinds of poker.
Very good. I used to play euchre in high school in Rochester.
Never played that. No.
That was about the only thing I could play. But so it's followed by a track called "Impression." So it sounds like. So who's playing with you? You're not playing all the instruments, I assume.
You moan like a lover, you hardly even have to try. A counterfeit 20 and the ink isn't even dry. I'm smart, I'm dumb, a sucker might have just been born. But your soul is to find me in every color, shape, and form.
What I did is I played the core instruments. I kind of would put down an acoustic track, and then I would do vocal, and then I really kind of nailed it on the bass guitar. I played all the bass guitar tracks, and that kind of
Right.
nailed with a loop sometimes, and that cemented the form of the song. And I would do all the vocals and finish all the vocals that I was going to do, and then I would take it up to a studio, and then I would add guitar. Jimmy Leahy played guitar, and then
Right.
I would add drums. Jerry Gaskill from King's X played drums, and then I added additional vocals with Lisa Sherman. So that was the core people. And then on impression, I also used a guy named Arno Wendt on keyboards. But most of the core stuff is just me, and then I add these other musicians on top.
Cool. There's a nice guitar solo on Two Bodies. Is that you?
That's Jimmy.
That's Jimmy.
That's Jimmy. Yeah, the only guitar solo I did is on Here and Now. I played the guitar solo on that.
Yeah. Very good. It's interesting because I noticed that people drop the term power pop when they talk about your music, which I can hear in there. But there's also a lot of other stuff going on. I almost, like, for instance, for some reason I was thinking of the Eagles in Even If You Don't. So
for sure, Eagles, Jackson Browne.
And you can say I've had hallucinations, and you can say I've gone right out of my mind, and you can ask me to rewrite our story, but baby I won't, because I know how much you love me.
The Weeklings are definitely a power pop band.
Gotcha.
And if you listen to when I brought this stuff into the studio, the guy I was working with, Plink Gilio, he kind of figured it was going to sound like the Weeklings,
Right.
but it doesn't. It doesn't sound like the Weeklings. It sounds like my previous solo record. And I said, well, yeah, it's a continuation of my previous solo record, which I did about 10 years ago.
Right.
And so it not that I tried to not sound like the Weeklings, but I used different musicians. I didn't use the Weeklings except for I did drummer Javi played a little bit on it, but used different instrumentation. And these are songs that didn't seem right for the Weeklings, so they're not necessarily power pop. And I get in the power pop category probably because of my work with the Weeklings, but my own solo
Right.
work is really more just classic rock kind of sound, not really power pop. Some of it is.
Yep.
Rock and roll
Yep.
bands definitely power pop,
Yep, definitely. And were you a power pop fan from back in the day when?
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, I living in Erie, I was lucky
Yeah.
enough to see the Raspberries when they came to town.
Oh, great.
Before they
Right.
made it big,
Yeah.
So I was a big fan of theirs. I loved them. And yeah, Badfinger and T-Rex and all my favorite. Those are my favorite bands. Really.
Gotcha. That's right, because the Raspberries were from Ohio, weren't they? Yeah.
They were based out of Cleveland. Yes.
Cleveland, yeah.
Akron. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I would have loved to see the Raspberries.
Yeah. I saw them in a little club in Erie, teen club. No
Right.
alcohol. I must have been 17, and they came out and they're all dressed in suits at a time when everybody else was dressed in flannel shirts and denim, and bell bottoms, and they
Yep.
had suits and poofed up hair, and they were like completely different. They did all Beatles songs and their own songs, kind of like the Weeklings.
Obviously, it stuck with you, made an impression.
I got that idea from. So yeah, they were great. They were great.
All right. So the 11 songs that comprise the album, do you think of them in terms of a whole? Is there a reason that all of them are on here? Or are they kind of individual projects for you, the songs?
I think I kind of tied them all together into one thing. I mean, I didn't write them all the same day, but
Right. Yeah.
and I didn't write them necessarily to, like I said, necessarily be a concept. And one of the songs I wrote, like many years ago. I wrote "Only a Way." I wrote a long time ago, but it seemed to fit with the other songs and thematically, and I always liked it and just never recorded it. So I finally did.
Right. Okay. Seems you mentioned One Eye Jack seems to kind of have a little Tom Petty kind of vibe.
Everybody says that. It wasn't my intention. Honestly, it has. It's in the same key and has a similar groove to breakdown, is why
Yeah,
people say
that's
that.
what I wrote
But
down.
it's different from breakdown if you listen to it.
I hope so.
And well, it is. I mean, it is. The groove is not exactly the same. Not exactly the same, and certainly
Yep.
the melodies and lyrics are completely different. But yeah, I didn't. I really didn't mean to do that. I kind of wish I had done something to disguise it, because a lot of people will say that, and wasn't
Yep.
intentional.
Well, it's got to be tough being a songwriter who has all these influences, and all those songs are in your brain all the time anyway,
Yeah, and actually, I am a really big Tom Petty fan. I love Tom
right?
Petty. So I mean, there are Tom Petty influences in everything I do, but I wasn't really trying to sound like Breakdown at all. So
Right. So when you're doing the live show, who are you playing with? How did the songs change? Stay the same? How do you?
they definitely changed. I mean, I don't have a steady band lineup. They call my band the Ever Changing Band, because
Right.
I have different people playing with me. Different all it kind of depends on who's available, and I've got a kind of a crew of musicians now that know my songs, and I can put together for a gig. Um, on the release party tomorrow night, I will have all the people from the record are playing
Oh,
with me.
cool.
So yeah, that'll be fun.
That'll be
Um,
fun.
and so when different guys play the songs, they sound a little different for sure.
Sure.
You know,
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. You're in Jersey, and of course, everybody here in New Zealand, if they hear Jersey, they think of Bruce Springsteen or John
yeah,
Bon Jovi or something. Yeah.
yeah,
Is there a
sure.
scene thriving at the moment other than those in what you're doing?
New Jersey is great. I mean,
Yeah.
this is one of the few places where there is a music scene, and there are a lot of bands playing here. There's a lot of musicians, and there's a lot of fans. I mean, the people in New Jersey like music, and they come out and support. Yeah, so I mean, I don't sound like Bruce Springsteen, but I have the Weeklings don't sound like Bruce Springsteen, but
Right.
we have a lot of fans, and some of them I'm sure are Bruce Springsteen fans, no doubt.
Sure.
But it's really. I was talking to a friend of mine last night. His name is Joe Grishecki, and he's from Pittsburgh.
Right. From the
And
Iron City House Rockers.
Iron City House Rockers, exactly. And I've known him for 40 years, and
Right.
he was playing last night in New Jersey, down 20 minutes away, and I was talking to him. He says, "Boy," he says, "You moved here." He says, "That was a really smart move." He says, "I wish I'd moved here, because there's no music scene like that in Pittsburgh.
Definitely not.
It's the Jersey Shore is kind of an exception. So and
Yeah.
it's close to New York too. So there's a lot going on.
And,
So
didn't
I love
Springsteen
it.
produce one of their records back in the day as well? So there's
Produced one
the
of
Iron
whose
City
records?
House Rockers.
He might have. They wrote. Joe wrote songs with him. I know that. I don't know
Yeah.
if he produced. He may have produced maybe one song or so. I don't think he produced a
Right.
whole album.
Or maybe it was Miami Steve or somebody. I don't
It could be. Yeah, it could be.
know. That's cool. So one song I want to touch on was "Merely Beautiful," just because it's so merely beautiful. What can you tell me about that?
I wanna ride your St. Catherine's wheel and take every punch that you pull. I wanna know if your colors are real, or are you just merely beautiful?
If you see a girl that's beautiful, and you're interested, and you want to know whether that's all there is,
Right.
whether there's something more behind it, whether she's
Uh,
more than just that. And then when then we've all been through that. You meet somebody, and it's like, well, okay, is this real, or is this just window dressing?
right.
So that's really the concept there.
Uh-huh. So you've got the album out. You've got the album release show tomorrow. Um, what are you thinking of? Are you moving on back to the Weeklings? Or are you going to concentrate on the solo thing for a while? What's the plan?
It's going to be all of everything. So
All of the above. Yeah.
tomorrow I'm doing the release thing. Thursday I'm playing with the Weeklings in Long Branch.
Right.
Friday I'm playing with Max Weinberg at Daryl's house in
Oh,
New York,
cool.
and then Saturday I'm doing a duo show of my own. So yeah, I'm pretty booked up. It's like people have asked me if I'm going to tour behind the record, and the answer is no, because I got too many things booked. So
Right.
I'm going to play. I'm going to play as much as I can, my own stuff with, and then squeeze it in with between Weeklings and Max and whatever else I have going on. So
Excellent. Very good. Well, come down here if you ever get the chance. Bring
I
all your
love it.
friends.
That'd be great. Or Lisa Sherman, who sang on the record, lived in
Uh-huh.
New Zealand. She lived there for quite a long time, and I believe she had a TV show down there.
Oh, I'll have to
Uh,
look it up and see.
I don't know too much about it, but I mean, she would know about it. But
Yeah.
I think it was maybe 20 years ago she might have had the show.
All
So
right.
look it up. Yeah,
I've been here that long, so I should remember.
yeah,
All
yeah.
right. Very good. All right. Well, thank you for taking time to talk to me. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Marty. Nice talking to you.
Have a good day. Bye
Yeah,
bye.
you too.